This video highlights the major features of comprehensive meta-analysis, or CMA. It includes a number of sections. You can always skip to the next section by clicking the button below. The sections are as follows: Introduction, a look at the program, avoiding common mistakes in meta-analysis, advanced procedures in CMA, features for professors and students, features for researchers and statisticians, CMA in publications, a history of CMA, support for CMA, and how CMA compares with other programs. Introduction. CMA is used by tens of thousands of researchers throughout the world. The majority of these people had previously used other programs, but they switched to CMA for reasons that will become clear momentarily. CMA is easy to use. You can run your first analysis within minutes of opening the program. At the same time, it is incredibly powerful with a wide array of advanced features and statistical options. CMA is a visual program. You can understand the process, and the results are clear and intuitive. Here are some comments from people who have been using CMA.
Chad Nye, University of Central Florida, Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. Comprehensive meta-analysis, CMA, is one of those rare tools in the research arsenal that does what it purports to and makes both the process and output understandable. I've used CMA for 7 years in my own meta-analytic work and in EBP workshops and courses. The ease of learning the program application and the resulting output make for a wonderful data analysis and learning tool. Michael Hubble, Director, Emergency Medical Care Program, Western Carolina University. CMA is an incredible software package for the novice and experienced researcher alike. It offers a sophisticated array of analytical techniques, yet retains the flexibility to adapt to your specific application. The interface is intuitive and user-friendly, and frees the user to focus on the analysis rather than the software. I use CMA in my graduate biostatistics course and recommend it to all of my faculty colleagues as well. The software is a joy to use.
Jae-Suan Lin, Michigan State University. Comprehensive meta-analysis software is like a magic wand. The simple and clear interface, like an Excel sheet, will guide you to do complicated meta-analysis within only a few clicks. The comprehensive formats included in the software allow researchers to input the data in various ways. It provides clear outputs and high-resolution graphs which can be imported to Microsoft Word. I especially love the feature that shows you the calculation steps so you can check whether you've run it correctly. It also provides advanced subgroup analysis, moderator analysis, meta-regression, and publication bias analysis. This software is a lifesaver.
Let's have a quick look at the program itself. Data entry. This is the data entry screen. It looks like a spreadsheet, so the interface is simple and familiar. You can start the program and be entering data in less than a minute. The data entry screen can be customized for almost any kind of data. Suppose I was working with studies that compared the means in two groups. The screen in CMA might look like this. There are columns for the mean, standard deviation, and sample size for the treated group and for the control group. I can enter the data directly or copy it from another program, such as Excel. The program automatically computes the standardized difference D, as well as hedges G and the raw difference in means. Or suppose I was working with studies that compared the risk of an event in two groups. The screen in CMA might look like this. Now there are columns for the events and the sample size in the treated group and in the control group. Again, I can enter the data directly or copy it from another program, such as Excel. In this case, the program computes the odds ratio, as well as the risk ratio and the risk difference. The program will accept data in more than 100 formats and will allow you to choose from some 20 effect size indices. Analysis. To run the analysis, simply click Run Analysis. This is the main analysis screen. I can select an effect size index. Here, I select the standardized difference in means. Next, I select a statistical model. And I can sort the effects from low to high. The program displays the results. This is the mean effect size and its confidence interval. This is the prediction interval. The confidence interval is an index of precision. It tells me that the true mean probably falls between here and here. By contrast, the prediction interval is an index of dispersion. It tells me that in any single study, the true effect size will usually fall between here and here. I can display the weight assigned to each study. I can sort by any variable, such as weight, and I can run various kinds of sensitivity analyses, including one study removed and cumulative analysis. Reports. The program can generate a report that explains the meaning of all the statistics, and I can export that report to Word with one click. In this example, the report reads, in part, Statistical Model. The random effects model was employed for the analysis. The studies in the analysis are assumed to be a random sample from a universe of potential studies, and this analysis will be used to make an inference to that universe. What is the mean effect size? The mean effect size is 0.506 with a 95% confidence interval of 0.362 to 0.651. The mean effect size in the universe of comparable studies could fall anywhere in this interval. The z-value tests the null hypothesis that the mean effect size is 0. The z-value is 6.857 with p less than 0.001. Using a criterion alpha of 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that in the universe of populations comparable to those in the analysis, the mean effect size is not precisely 0. This report can serve as a template for preparing a manuscript. In fact, if I click Export to Word, the program opens Word and inserts the report as shown here. Forest plots. CMA will create high-quality graphics. You can create a plot that looks like this and send it to PowerPoint with one click. Back in CMA, you can change the colors. And send it to Word. The plot is in a so-called lossless format. That means you can enlarge it by 1,000% and every element will still be tack sharp. Plotting the distribution of true effects. This is the standard forest plot created by CMA and other programs. This line reflects the mean effect size and its confidence interval, while this line reflects the prediction interval or the dispersion in effects. In any single population, the true effect size could fall anywhere from here to here. People sometimes have trouble understanding the difference between these two lines, and so CMA will also present the same information in this plot. This line corresponds to the mean and its confidence interval. This is explained in this caption, which reads, the mean effect size is 0.51 with a 95% confidence interval of 0.36 to 0.65. This line corresponds to the entire distribution of true effects, and the endpoints of this line correspond to the prediction interval. This is explained in this caption, which reads, the true effect size in 95% of all comparable populations falls in the interval 0.06 to 0.96. In this analysis, the mean effect size is here, which might be considered a moderate effect. But there are some populations where the effect size is trivial and some where it is surprisingly high. When the effect size varies this widely, we need to focus not on the mean, but on the dispersion in effects. First, we have to report how much the effect size varies. And if we have coded for moderators, we might be able to use subgroup analyses or meta-regression to see what moderators are associated with the magnitude of the effect. There is a lot more to this video. However, if you've seen enough, please go to our website, metaanalysis.com, where you can download a free trial of the program, and you can also download free PDFs about meta-analysis. Avoiding common mistakes. Meta-analyses submitted for publication often contain mistakes in interpreting the data. CMA incorporates a number of features to help you avoid these mistakes. A moment ago, I mentioned that the program will create a report. You can also tell the program to annotate that report. The program will explain what each statistic means and will alert you to ways that the statistic is sometimes misinterpreted. For example, researchers often assume that the I-squared statistic tells us how much the effect size varies across studies. While this interpretation is very common, it is nevertheless incorrect. This is addressed in the annotation, which reads, the I-squared statistic. The I-squared statistic is 47%, which tells us that some 47% of the variance in observed effects reflects variance in true effects rather than sampling error. Notes on I-squared. There's a common belief that I-squared tells us how much the effect size varies across studies. In some cases, I-squared values have been employed to classify the amount of variation as being low, moderate, or high. While this interpretation of I-squared is ubiquitous in some fields, it is nevertheless incorrect. I-squared is a proportion not an absolute amount. It tells us what proportion of the variance in observed effects reflects variance in true effects rather than sampling error. It does not tell us how much the effects actually vary. The statistic that tells us how much the effect size varies is the prediction interval, which is discussed below. The prediction interval. If we assume that the true effects are normally distributed in d units, we can estimate that the prediction interval is 0.058 to 0.954. The true effect size in 95% of all comparable populations falls in this interval. The prediction interval is a critically important part of any meta-analysis. For that reason, many journals and reporting guidelines now recommend that the prediction interval be reported as part of the results and that it play an appropriate role in the discussion. A second feature to help avoid common mistakes is the plot showing the distribution of true effects. A common mistake in meta-analysis is that papers focus on the mean effect size and fail to properly take account of how much the effect size varies. We really should be looking not only at the mean effect size, but also at the entire distribution of true effects. The plot is incredibly useful for clarifying and communicating the clinical implications of the results. It shows whether the effect size is consistent across studies or if it varies substantially. Consider the following examples. Consider this analysis comparing a treatment versus a placebo. An effect size of 0 means that the treatment had no effect. Anything to the right of 0 indicates that the treatment is helpful, and anything to the left of 0 indicates that the treatment is harmful. An effect size in this range would be considered trivial. An effect size in this range would be clinically useful but moderate, and an effect size in this range would be very useful. Most papers focus on the mean effect size with its confidence interval and fail to properly address the dispersion in effects or heterogeneity. This is a mistake with potentially serious consequences. Suppose the results of the meta-analysis look like this. Let's call this analysis A. This is the mean effect size and its confidence interval. Focusing on these, we might report that the treatment is very effective. Now, let's consider a second analysis. Let's call this analysis B. This is the mean effect size and its confidence interval. Again, we might report that the treatment is very effective. So, when we focus on the mean and its confidence interval, analysis A and analysis B appear to be identical to each other. By contrast, consider what happens when we look not only at the mean effect size, but also at how the effect size varies across populations. This is the same analysis A that we saw before, but now we add the distribution of effects. We can see that the treatment has essentially the same effect size in all populations. We can report that in all comparable populations, the effect size will fall close to 1.0. By contrast, this is analysis B, and again we add the distribution of effects. Here, the mean is close to 1.0, but the effect size is moderate in some populations and exceptionally strong in others. We need to report that this is the case, and possibly try to identify factors that are associated with the variation in effects. More generally, this kind of plot allows us to distinguish between cases where A, the treatment is always clinically useful, or B, the treatment is clinically useful in some cases, but not others, or C, the treatment is beneficial in some cases, but actually harmful in others. In the example shown here, papers typically report that the effect is statistically significant with high heterogeneity. And the take-home message is that the treatment works. By contrast, when we're working with this plot, it becomes clear that while the treatment is beneficial in some cases, it's actually harmful in others. And this becomes the take-home message of the analysis. In sum, this plot helps the user understand and communicate a much more complete and appropriate picture of the results than we would get by focusing on the mean and its confidence interval. As with the forest plot, this plot can be sent to PowerPoint or Word with one click. You could then reference this plot in the discussion section of the paper or make it the focus of a presentation. A third feature to help avoid common mistakes is the extensive collection of manuals and videos that explain the correct way to interpret and report the results. Finally, the fourth such feature is that within CMA, you can open chapters from the text, Common Mistakes in Meta-Analysis, and How to Avoid Them. These chapters are installed as part of the program. If you're trying to understand which statistical model to use, or trying to understand the statistics related to heterogeneity, or to publication bias, or other topics, you can open a PDF with an extensive discussion and examples on that topic. Again, our website is metaanalysis.com. Advanced procedures. Subgroup analyses. The program allows you to compare the effect size in different subgroups of studies. In this analysis, I've computed the mean effect size for this set of studies and the mean effect size for this set of studies. I can then compare the two means using various computational options. Meta-regression. CMA allows you to run meta-regression. You can include both continuous and categorical variables in the regression and easily plot the results. CMA will allow you to define sets of variables and assess the impact of any set over and above the others. Publication bias. The program includes an array of analyses to assess the potential impact of publication bias. It will also generate a report that explains how to interpret these analyses. CMA for teaching. With this program, the logic of meta-analysis comes alive. Use the program to demonstrate conceptual issues, such as the impact of study weights on the combined effect, the implications of heterogeneity, and fixed effect versus random effects models. For example, we can display the weight assigned to each study using the fixed effect model and the random effects model. Here, we can see that under the fixed effect model, some studies dominate the analysis, while others are essentially ignored. By contrast, under the random effects model, all studies are assigned comparable weights. We can use this to explain how this reflects the goals of either statistical model. And we can see how the choice of a model affects the estimate of the mean. You can download PDFs that provide worked examples and that can be distributed to students. Users have free access to videos that explain how to run an analysis from start to finish, how to interpret and report the results, and how to avoid common mistakes. The program takes only minutes to learn. Instead of explaining how to run the analysis, you can concentrate on understanding the results. If you're using this program to teach meta-analysis, you're welcome to use the software at no charge for a short course or at a substantial discount for a longer course. Here are some comments from people who have used CMA to teach meta-analysis.
Edward Mullen, Columbia University. I have used comprehensive meta-analysis as the primary course software for a doctoral level course on systematic review and meta-analysis methods, which I have taught at Columbia University. The software, documentation, and tutorial materials have made the teaching and learning of meta-analysis methods stimulating, efficient, and enjoyable. While the methods of meta-analysis can be daunting to students, this program and supporting materials provide clear guidance and hands-on experience which greatly enrich the learning process. Based on my experience, I think that comprehensive meta-analysis should be required in any course dealing with the subject.
Karen DeSantis, Jacobs University, Bremen, Germany. The program is a perfect companion to Borenstein et al.'s book since it allowed my students to try the concepts discussed in the book. We have done most of the computations by hand first and then checked our answers with CMA. This gave the students a feel for meta-analysis and made them realize that the method is not just about feeding some abstract numbers into a black box and getting a meaningless number at the end. Instead, using the book and the program together, the students learn the maths behind the computations and the meaning of the final results. I found the help manual especially user-friendly and ready for classroom use. My students were able to get most of the exercises done at home, such that we had time to discuss the answers and their implications in class. Rachel Hirschenberg. I am an advanced graduate student in clinical psychology, and CMA software was integrated into a meta-analysis course I recently took. I feel very fortunate to have been trained in meta-analyses at a time when we have this software because CMA is easy and I dare say fun to use. Rather than spending countless hours computing my own effect sizes and creating syntax, the program did it for me, which allowed me to spend my time really looking at the data, both graphically and numerically. I bought CMA for myself and would recommend it to anyone looking to learn the art of meta-analysis. Regina M. Kusan, University of Connecticut, School of Nursing. Comprehensive meta-analysis is a gem. Students are able to return to our computer lab to complete a meta-analysis assignment independently after an initial faculty demonstration session. The software facilitates application of complex concepts with real data, helping students see the power of the meta-analysis process.
Features for statisticians and researchers. CMA includes a wide array of sophisticated options for data entry, analysis, and display. It allows you to work with studies that report multiple outcomes and/or results at multiple time points. It allows you to work with studies that compare several treatments with a common control group. And it allows you to work with studies that report data for 2 or more independent subgroups. It allows you to work with an array of sophisticated options for subgroup analysis and meta-regression. It allows you to include the prediction intervals on forest plots, and it allows you to plot the entire distribution of true effects, which can serve as the basis for the results and discussion sections of a paper. The annotated report alerts you to mistakes that are common, even among statisticians and researchers. It explains how to avoid those mistakes and how to interpret the statistics correctly. Here are some comments from researchers and statisticians who use CMA.
Jeffrey S. Berger, Director of Cardiovascular Thrombosis, New York University School of Medicine. The program was easy to understand and exceptionally helpful for a non-statistician doing meta-analyses. I encourage anyone who is interested in doing a meta-analysis to test the software and see its power. The program has allowed me to publish important data in top-tiered medical journals.
Catherine Sherrington, the University of Sydney. I have now used comprehensive meta-analysis in 5 meta-analyses and highly recommend it. Its structure and accompanying resources particularly assist researchers with clinical rather than statistical backgrounds to avoid important errors in data entry and analysis.
Patrick Gaudreau, University of Ottawa. CMA has been a huge asset in my research on motivation and self-regulation. I have used this software to conduct multiple meta-analyses, each requiring different and multiple formats of effect size. CMA surpassed my needs and expectations every time. The software is really comprehensive, yet exceptionally user-friendly. Fellows and students have learned to use it in just one sitting. I highly recommend CMA to any researcher wishing to conduct meta-analysis in a highly effective and efficient manner.
Joshua Swift, University of Alaska, Anchorage. Comprehensive meta-analysis has been the perfect tool for all of my meta-analysis needs. From calculating effect sizes to examining moderator effects to testing publication bias to building visually appealing forest plots, this program has it all. Its simplicity and straightforward design make it easy to use for those just learning this data analysis technique. Additionally, with all that is included, this program is also great for those wishing to run more sophisticated analyses.
Edward Mills, Research Chair, Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Ottawa. I have used comprehensive meta-analysis since I was a student, and it has been the basis for dozens of meta-analysis publications since then. The strengths of the software include its intuitive approaches to statistical issues, ease of use, and clear presentation of the data. Journals appreciate that important changes in figures can be made rapidly and clearly. This has also been an excellent tool for teaching students and colleagues about conducting meta-analysis. Students enjoy the clarity of presentation and ease of use. With all the ease of use, it is important to note that the software allows a variety of statistical approaches that may be difficult to implement in other software, from choices of meta-regression effects to presentations of heterogeneity. For my group, this software is indispensable. Stephen P. Brown, Bauer College of Business, University of Houston. The comprehensive meta-analysis program greatly facilitates conducting quantitative research synthesis. Its graphical capabilities are unmatched and make impressive visual displays of cumulative research findings easy to create. It is user-friendly, and its algorithms are well validated in the methodological literature. I recommend it highly.
CMA in publications. CMA is often the software cited in published meta-analyses. Here are some examples of papers that used CMA and were published in Psychological Bulletin on narcissism, on PTSD, and on depression. Here are some examples of papers published in the journals of the American Medical Association using CMA on suicide, on diabetes, and on CBT. And here are some published in the Journal of Research on Educational Effectiveness on teaching vocabulary, on cooperative learning, and on interventions for children at risk. History of CMA. CMA was developed with funding from the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, in the United States. The primary developers are Michael Borenstein, Larry Hedges, Julian Higgins, and Hannah Rothstein. All four are co-authors of the text, Introduction to Meta-Analysis, published by Wiley in 2009 and again in 2021. Larry is the co-author of the seminal text on meta-analysis, Statistical Methods for Meta-Analysis, published in 1985. He is also the co-editor of the Handbook for Research Synthesis and Meta-Analysis, now in its third edition. Julian is the co-editor of the Cochrane Handbook, now in its second print edition, and he is also the co-editor of Systematic Reviews in Health Research, third edition. Michael and Hannah are co-editors of the text, Publication Bias in Meta-Analysis. Michael is also the author of the text, Common Mistakes in Meta-Analysis and How to Avoid Them. This group developed the program in collaboration with an advisory group that included people from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Some of them are shown here. These include people who are responsible for developing the science of research synthesis, for developing techniques for teaching meta-analysis, and who have served on the boards of Cochrane and Campbell. CMA in books. Various texts on meta-analysis have chapters devoted to CMA. Our text, Introduction to Meta-Analysis, second edition, has chapters that show how to run various analyses in CMA. You can download the data for these analyses on our website. The text, Systematic Reviews in Healthcare, third edition, has a chapter that shows how to run an analysis in CMA. You can download the data for this analysis on our website or on that book's website. Our text, Common Mistakes in Meta-Analysis and How to Avoid Them, features numerous examples using CMA. Support for users of CMA. Our website features video tutorials. These include case studies that show how to run an analysis from start to finish. They also explain how to interpret the results and avoid common mistakes. And there are PDFs that explain the formulas used by CMA. The manual explains how to use the program, but it also includes case studies that show how to perform an analysis from start to finish, how to report the results, and how to avoid common mistakes. There's a support page where you can submit questions. We answer these questions by email or phone, and when appropriate, we also provide support by Zoom. Here are some comments that people have made related to our support.
Nasrola Garamani, Nephrology. Over the past several months that I have used comprehensive meta-analysis, I have found it to be highly user-friendly and quite versatile in function. I've incorporated the high-resolution plots into my manuscripts and slide presentations with no difficulty. I would like to thank you and your staff for the highly professional technical support.
Tracy Scher, University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Even in its earliest versions, comprehensive meta-analysis was easy to use. More importantly, Michael Borenstein and his colleagues were readily available to assist with the few questions I had about the software. For beginners in meta-analysis and for seasoned researchers, I highly recommend this program. You will not be disappointed. Audrey Flack of the CDC. Comprehensive meta-analysis is a powerful program for meta-analysis computations. It is user-friendly and easy to learn. Its capabilities to produce forest plots and complete subgroup analyses are particularly useful. Additionally, the CMA support staff is quick to respond to any troubleshooting issues. Talin Babakian, UCLA. I found the comprehensive meta-analysis software program to be extremely user-friendly, providing instant computational data from the simplest to the most complex statistical problems, a versatile database to help organize and restructure large volumes of multifaceted data, and parallel visuals that help better understand your data. I also found the support staff very helpful in providing responses to both my technical questions about the program itself, as well as helpful addressing more general theoretical questions about meta-analyses. I would highly recommend this program to a novice or more seasoned researcher interested in conducting meta-analytic statistics.
CMA as compared with other programs. CMA is visual. In a moment, I will list specific features that distinguish CMA from other programs. But focusing on specific features really misses the point. The main difference between CMA and the other programs is the entire approach. Using the other programs, you need to focus on the mechanics of performing the analysis. By contrast, using CMA, all the mechanics are handled automatically, and you can focus on interpreting the results. Similarly, the other programs present a series of statistics, and it's up to you to make sense of them. By contrast, CMA produces visual displays that allow the researcher to understand the results and to communicate them to others. CMA is able to produce detailed text reports that explain the meaning of the statistics, and it incorporates numerous features to help you avoid common mistakes. Here are some comments from people who were using another program but switched to CMA.
Jennifer London, North Carolina State University. I'm a graduate student at NC State University, and I recently tried out CMA for my lab. For the record, it is awesome. My lab, MetaWorld, is specifically focused on meta-analysis, so we've used a lot of programs, both good and bad. CMA is by far the best we've tried in terms of ease of use. It is simple enough for a first-time meta-analyst to use, but the best part is the diversity of options for the more advanced user. It is amazingly easy to switch effects models and other aspects to the point that it's fun to fiddle around with things to see the difference they make. The options for output are everything you'd need for publication, and they look a good sight better than what I would have come up with without CMA. It is the only software that had all the functionality I needed for my thesis, and without it, I would be stuck writing my own code. Li Y Cindy Eng. I am impressed with the ease or simplicity of the comprehensive meta-analysis, not only in data entry, but also the data generated. Unlike some of the free software available for meta-analysis, I found the comprehensive meta-analysis user-friendly, generating clear graphs and effect sizes. I took a long time to work out some of the free software available by some of my colleagues and found them very user-unfriendly, confusing, and the graphs generated not easy on the eye. After chancing on comprehensive meta-analysis during a Google search and having a go at it during the free trial, I was keen to get my hands on it and have recommended it to some of my colleagues. It is definitely worth getting it as it makes meta-analysis non-daunting and non-scary, especially for students pursuing their master's or PhDs.
Gili Zhang, East Carolina University. Comprehensive Meta-Analysis, CMA, is a must-have tool for academic instructors, researchers, and statisticians alike. Developed by a strong team of highly recognized experts in the field, CMA meets all of your meta-analysis needs and is easy to teach and easy to use. I would not attempt to ever conduct another meta-analysis without using the CMA program, for the differences between heaven and earth.
Emilio Bria, I had the pleasure to use your software from 2004, and thanks to that, my group had the opportunity to explore many issues in clinical oncology. I am a doctor, not a statistician, and I have to say that the software is really simple, fast to use, and really easy to understand for anyone who wants to use it. We currently prefer CMA to other free software given the mentioned features. Actually, I have no drawbacks to stress. I am really friendly in using your software right now.
How does CMA compare to RevMan? RevMan is the program developed by the Cochrane Collaboration for use with the Cochrane Library. It is a program that covers all stages of the systematic review. While it will perform a meta-analysis, the meta-analysis is only a small component of the program, and this component of the program is very limited. It will run the simple analyses required for Cochrane, but no additional analyses. It will generate the standard forest plot, but that plot has little flexibility. For this reason, many people who use RevMan to publish in the Cochrane Library then export their data to CMA to perform additional analyses, create additional plots, and publish in other journals. The mechanics of data entry are much simpler in CMA. You work with a spreadsheet interface and can copy and paste data as easily as you could in Excel. By contrast, the data entry process in RevMan requires the user to set up tables and comparisons before even starting data entry. CMA will compute the effect size automatically. In every meta-analysis, you start with the published summary data for each study and compute the treatment effect or effect size. RevMan will accept summary data in only two formats: events and sample size, or means and standard deviations. If any studies provide data in another format, such as the odds ratio and confidence interval, you would need to compute the effect size and variance manually for those studies. By contrast, CMA allows you to enter data in more than 100 formats and will compute the effect size and variance for all of these formats. Equally important, RevMan requires that data for all studies be entered using the same format. By contrast, with CMA, you can enter data for each study in its own format and use as many formats as needed in the same analysis. CMA also supports a much wider range of effect size indices than RevMan. The forest plot in RevMan offers few options for customization. By contrast, CMA allows the user full control over all elements in the forest plot, will create scalable plots that print at the highest resolution possible for the printer or journal, and allows the user to control the color for every element on the plot. CMA also allows one-click export to other programs such as PowerPoint and Word. CMA allows you to assess the impact of moderator variables. You can use analysis of variance to compare the treatment effect across groups. RevMan will run an analysis by subgroups, but will not compare the effect size across subgroups. CMA includes meta-regression, which RevMan does not. CMA will generate reports that explain the meaning of the statistics. CMA allows you to add prediction intervals to the plots. It includes access to videos and PDF tutorials, as well as many other features to ensure that the analyses are performed and reported correctly. Here are some comments from people who work closely with Cochrane but chose to use CMA.
Peter C. Gotchi, Professor, Director, Nordic Cochrane Center, Copenhagen. Although my center develops the statistical software the whole Cochrane collaboration uses for its systematic reviews, RevMan, I have often used comprehensive meta-analysis for my own research projects, as it is easy to import data from Excel, to use effect modifiers, and also because it allows meta-regression and produces bubble graphs that are easy to work with in Word or PowerPoint. Richard M. Rosenfeld, Journal Editor and Chair, American Academy of Otolaryngology. Comprehensive Meta-Analysis is a fabulous program for research synthesis, combining ease of use with advanced features not available in standard statistical packages or competing standalone products. The program is ideal for independent analysis or reanalyzing data from another published review, including Cochrane reviews, to explore subgroups, moderator variables, and clinically relevant measures of effect size. Forest and funnel plots can be easily created and customized for publication quality graphics. As editor-in-chief of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery, I find the program indispensable for preparing a quarterly installment, the Cochrane Corner, which highlights a relevant Cochrane review and provides expert commentary to aid clinicians in applying and understanding the results. I strongly recommend this program to novice and experienced meta-analysts alike.
How does CMA compare to R or Stata? If you're familiar with the R programming language or with Stata, these may be good options for you, since there are functions for these languages that duplicate many of the functions in CMA. Still, CMA offers a number of advantages. R and Stata are command-driven languages, which means that you enter commands which are then submitted to the program. By contrast, CMA is intuitive and interactive. You can run the analysis by clicking on a menu, and all results are presented in a clear display. You can focus on understanding the analyses rather than actually running them. Computing effect sizes. R and Stata will accept summary data in only 3 formats: the events and sample size, the means and standard deviations, or, in some cases, point estimates and confidence intervals. If any studies provide data in another format, you would need to compute the effect sizes and variances manually or by writing code. By contrast, CMA allows you to enter data in more than 100 formats and will compute the effect size and variance for all of these formats. With CMA, you can enter data for each study in its own format and use as many formats as needed in the same analysis. Analyses. R and Stata compute values and send these values to a DOS-like window for viewing. By contrast, in CMA, the analysis is interactive. You can use the screen interactively to explore the impact of different studies, the effect of alternate weighting schemes, and so on. Forest plots. The forest plots in R and Stata offer limited options for customization. By contrast, the forest plot in CMA can be customized extensively and interactively. CMA also includes the functions outlined earlier to create reports, to avoid common errors, to teach meta-analysis, and to plot the distribution of true effects. Here are some more comments from people who had been using another program but switched to CMA.
Seth Knorr, University of Kentucky. Comprehensive meta-analysis is, in my view, the best meta-analysis software on the market and a must-have for any meta-analyst. Before I used the software, I was convinced that specialized meta-analysis software was not necessary at all. At that time, I used my own Excel spreadsheets and SPSS to run meta-analysis. In fact, I only tried CMA because I needed a way to make forest plots. Once I tried it, however, I was sold. I could not believe how user-friendly it was and how much it could do. Suddenly, not only was meta-analysis more efficient, but more importantly, I could run all types of analyses that previously were not available with the software I had been using. I've since used the program to conduct and publish several meta-analyses. Given how great the program is, I require it when I teach my graduate meta-analysis seminar. Students always seem surprised when they see how easy it is to use, as this is certainly not the norm in statistical software. Thus, our graduate students seem to greatly value CMA as a key resource for conducting meta-analysis.
Karen Larwin, Youngstown State University. Thank you for developing comprehensive meta-analysis. It is by far the best tool available for today's meta-analytic researcher. It provides flexibility for all possible types of data. It produces great, colorful graphical displays, and the product support is unmatched. I have used a number of different programs for conducting meta-analytic research over the last 10 years, and CMA is the only product I recommend to my students and colleagues.
That's it for this overview. I invite you to try CMA. Our website is metaanalysis.com. Learn more about the software, watch the videos of case studies, download a free trial of the program, and download a free PDF on heterogeneity. We also offer workshops in meta-analysis. The website for the workshops is metaanalysisworkshops.com. This is our email address. Please feel free to contact us with any questions, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video.